Wedding photographers of Reddit, what was your "they're not gonna last long" moment? At the rehearsal dinner, every toast to the bride was some euphemistic variation of "I'm so glad you finally found someone to put up with your bullshit. They barely made it to the 6-month mark." Said this before. Third wedding and the best man, the groom's brother, starts his speech. "Well, welcome back everyone. Good to see some new faces and some old ones." At his third wedding, my uncle's best man started his speech with, "I told you buying my suit would be cheaper than renting." He got his third divorce after about 6 months. Which, to be honest, was longer than we expected because we all saw it coming like the steamroller security guard from Austin Powers. When I worked as a wedding planner for a hotel chain, the groom had found out his bride was having an affair with her brother's best mate. The bride's mother knew about it, but insisted on the wedding and paid a fortune. The groom wasn't drinking much and at the speeches, stood up and revealed he knew and said he was getting an annulment. He then took his best man on his honeymoon. The honeymoon the bride's parents had paid for. It's not gay if you make the ex-mother-in-law pay. If it rhymes, it's true. When the groom looked at her like she was the love of his life, and she treated the day like her prom and ignored him. I think they lasted 6 months. This was my wedding frown. He ignored me most of the reception and I had to drag him onto the dance floor, but even then he only gave me a single song. I kept going around the wedding looking for him, and when I'd find him he'd be in the middle of a conversation and I'd have to just stand quietly behind him because he wouldn't fill me in on what they were talking about. At the end of the wedding, we had a send-off moment where everyone made an arm tunnel for us and cheered us on our way to the elevator. It was cute, but I felt his hand slip out of mine and I turned around at the door to the elevator to see that he'd stopped a few feet back to talk to his friends some more. I looped my arm through his yet again. He didn't include me in their conversation and stood there awkwardly rubbing his arm to try to get his attention. When I finally managed to get his attention, I think I cracked a joke to the whole group about "we have to go consummate the marriage or it isn't legal, see y'all at the after party." He raised his voice at me, saying that I was tearing him away from his friends. He had spent all day and night with his friends. I just wanted to take a turn. It was the most pathetic version of myself I've ever been. We lasted 4 years. I hope you're in a much better and happier place now. Oh, absolutely. I'd had self-esteem issues for so long at that point. Finding the courage to leave a man who didn't care about me was what finally cured me. It's amazing what we endure because of low self-esteem. Asked the groom in a recorded interview why he asked her to marry him and he said, "The pressure to get married." They lasted less than 2 months. Hadn't even finished the video and they were over. Early in my career I filmed wedding videos. The interviews always give it away. By the end of the wedding I usually have a pretty good idea of who's going to last and who won't, and it's proved out over the years. Any examples? There's something about the way they look at each other when they're together. I know they're going to make it, and then talk about each other when they're away from each other. Depends on answers. Ones I've personally seen, when the husband can't describe his wife with anything other than "she's beautiful." Divorced. When one of the two doesn't want to have cake smashed in their face, but the other one does it anyway. Divorced. When one gets really drunk at the wedding and the other one does not. Divorced. Both times I've seen it. Apparently the number one predictor of divorce is contempt. I recall a study that showed that within 15 minutes, they could tell if one partner had contempt for the other, and that highly correlated with divorce. I've always said I can tell when couples just straight up don't like each other. Like they don't appreciate aspects of their personality or find the small things cute or funny. The inverse of this is contempt, which is a much more succinct way to put it. Went to a wedding during college to my friends that got married who graduated 2 years prior to me. They had a beautiful wedding on a boat off the Keys, and as the best man gave his speech, he was really drunk by this point, just shouted out, "You don't deserve her, you literally got a blow job from a stripper. No, make that 2 strippers at your bachelor party. Peace out." He dropped the mic and tried to do a dramatic exit, but by this point we were all stuck on this boat in the middle of the ocean. It took an hour to get back to port, and it was the most awful and awkward hour of our lives for everyone on that boat. Do go on. Bride was such a monumental bitch. Her mom gave me a $500 tip for not walking out on the event when she was treating everyone, even her now husband, like a piece of shit employee. She did the whole clicking fingers thing when wanting someone to do something for her, and she berated the DJ for grabbing a sandwich when he'd been there for about 8 hours and was told that he should have brought his own lunch and she would be taking the cost of the food, like an open buffet style, out of his paycheck. They were divorced within 3 years, but not before having 3 kids that have stupid names. Having 3 kids that have stupid names. Deer Hunter. Go tell Jaden and Bronxana that dinner's gonna get cold. I'm pregnant with our first and I'm now adding Deer Hunter to my list of name proposals. Not only does this add weight to the names I want my partner to lean towards, but also it will make him laugh. I met with potential clients to go over the details of the wedding and to see if we would be a good fit to work together. I tried to schedule something at a cafe, but they insisted on me coming to their house. When I arrived, there was a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket of dirty diapers on the front porch. I had a feeling this wasn't going to go well. A young kid, probably 7 or so, answered the door. All I could see and hear were children running around everywhere. The soon-to-be husband was sitting on his bed that was in the living room watching TV, and the bride was in the kitchen with 2 kids on either hip. She told me to sit at the kitchen table to go over the wedding details. She shouted at her fiancé to come and join the meeting, where he didn't acknowledge that I was there to talk about shooting their wedding. The bride was annoyed, then asked if I saw the bucket full of dirty diapers on the porch. I said that I had, and she said her fiancé has so many kids with other women that is the only place to keep them so they don't stink up the house. I did not take the job. I always wondered what happened to that couple. We are doing fine and have 2 buckets now. Not a photographer, designer. Red flags as follows: all different couples. 1. Groom, when asked what his wants were, I don't care, it's for her, as long as I'm in the lobby by 7:30 for the game. 2. Bride, when asked about head table, we need a sweetheart table or he won't sit with me. 3. Excited groom asking questions, bride, shh, you're being bad again, what did I tell you earlier? 4. Mother of groom, when nut allergic bride asked for a nut-free wedding, peanut butter cookies or no check, if accidents happen they happen, just pay attention, I cleared that check and forgot those cookies. 5. Father of bride to groom during reception, your future with the firm is safe, if you had just graduated sooner you'd have gotten the pretty one, I almost threw up. 6. First look, groom, this dress is awful, I thought you said you lost weight. 7. The worst one ever caught groom making out with bride's mom. 4. Mother of groom, when nut allergic bride asked for a nut-free wedding, peanut butter cookies or no check, if accidents happen they happen, just pay attention, I cleared that check and forgot those cookies, what in the murder she wrote is this? There is an epidemic of weird emotional incest moms that act like their sons are breaking up with them when they marry, and it is so cringe. This bride was a sweetheart and the groom was mortified. Other pros, have you used the password method for phone calls where your couple chooses a word to verify changes? I have had to and it was not fun. Wait, like, if the call doesn't include the word cucumber, it's either someone impersonating us or we're calling under duress, parents, other family in room making us call, and don't actually make this change, just let your time be wasted and don't actually change anything? Holy duck. My Mill loves to duck with events. She's compelled to change something like a food item or the location of an event, naturally trying to do it as a nice surprise and not tell anyone. The code is for nosy bitches like my Mill that can't understand boundaries. My mom and I had a huge fight the night before my wedding, because she tried to change a bunch of decorations as a nice surprise on the day of the wedding, when she'd been told a billion times not to. Ooh, finally one of these I can contribute to. My mother was a wedding photographer till I was about 18 to 19 and I helped out on many of them. The one that stands out the most was when we were at a campsite where both the wedding and reception were being held. About halfway through the reception I hear the groom start laughing maniacally. I peeked over his way and could see 2 groomsmen hauling the thrashing and screaming bride towards the lake. They threw her into the freezing cold water with her veil and dress still on. When she got out of the water I genuinely thought she might shoot somebody. Saying she looked like a drowned rat would have been an insult to rats. Her hair and makeup and probably the dress were ruined beyond repair. The fact that the groom laughed and didn't do anything stuck with me as being a dogshit move even as a teen. Apparently she thought so too, because they didn't even make it 6 months. That's one of the most horrible wedding stories I have ever heard in my life. Not just because they threw her in the lake, but also because depending on the weight of the dress, the cuts of fabric, and the depth of the lake, she could have easily drowned. I was thinking this. I helped my wife out of her dress once the night was over and was surprised with just how heavy that thing was. It would have been insanely heavy when wet. I can only imagine that the reason she walked out was due to the complete rage fueling her.